All right, what's going on, guys? We're back here again with another video, making sure we got all our ducks in a row. So we are officially now live and recording better than we did last time. So, anyways, today's topic is your business is too complicated and it's costing you. The reason why this is the title is because I know my business was too complicated and it costed me gravely. Now, if in case you guys didn't know, my name is Emmanuel Velasco, and I made a bunch of mistakes in my life and had a bunch of learning lessons, over 200 plus $1,000 worth of mistakes, and I'm looking to make that $1 million worth of mistakes. And I'm on a mission currently to help 7,200 people learn everything I know so that they can help another 7,200 people accomplish the same thing, which means that that ripple effect will impact 51 million lives. Now, for me, business, I love software, right? I could get into the side of stuff that gets so techy and I could overcomplicate everything because it's like you could have a software, a dedicated software, I should say, for literally everything and anything. And what I mean by this is that literally you could have a software that allows you to do emails, right? You could have a specific software that allows you to do text, and then another software that allows you to do calls. And you could really, really break it down into a bunch of these different things, different avenues. But then you have all these different logins that you have to log into. I had about like 20 different logins. So I had MailChimp, I had to sign in into CallRail, I had to go over to the CRM, which was Podio. I had to dive deep in the archive for that. Then I had my batch caller called Batch Dialer, right? And so I had so many different call systems. Yes, I'm a prima donna. Apparently, that's why I'm grabbing a bunch of my hair and flicking it back. But a bunch of different softwares. And what I realized is that I was complicating the business aspect of things when I didn't need to complicate it at all. I was doing too much, right? Or I was doing busy work. I was busy working on the wrong stuff. Now, it's important to understand which things to really work on to make sure that your business grows. Now, would software be the thing that we should work on if our company is not technical? Probably not. We should probably focus more so on the things that actually do business, right? So if I'm a mechanic and I'm worrying about which software I'm using to connect to the parts person and this person, at the end of the day, I need a customer to walk in the door and then I could just figure all the rest of it out later. It's like that's the 30, the 40% that I got to figure out, if you will. And then everything else will be handled afterwards. Because, once you're in the situation, then you have to figure it out versus like you're gazing from afar, understanding, whatever it is you're learning on. And then you're like, oh, like, but yeah, if you remember this back in the days, I don't know, when I was a kid, you'll be like, oh, yeah, like, if this was real life, you try to punch me like that, I would have done this, and this, and then you would have been on the floor. Um, and it's like, okay, hypotheticals. You could hypothetically do it until you get punched in the face, and then you're hypothetically not doing nothing because everybody says they're about it until they get punched in the face, and then they're like, oh, like I don't like getting punched in the face. And so the point is that overcomplicating it is like getting yourself punched in the face because you'll feel like you're getting a lot of stuff done, but then at the end of the day, nothing happens. So business is already complicated. There's no need to make it even more complicated. Um, as I go through and make sure I'm sharing the screen too, because I didn't do that last time either. Didn't record it and I did share the screen, but we're getting better at the technical aspect of stuff every single day because at the end of the day, stress and change are literally the same thing. So if you're changing, which if you're getting older every day, then you're constantly changing. So you constantly have that stress. But even with this, right, when it comes to making consistency happen, when it comes to making the content aspect of stuff. Like I'm showing up here live. I have a lot of different content coming out too, as well, as you can see on various different parts of the channel. And so it's like it's easy. I made it easier for content to happen. I have to now remember all the technical stuff that was happening in the beginning phases where, excuse me, we decided to, you know what, we're just gonna do YouTube like this. We're not gonna share any screen stuff because it doesn't want to work. And so that's how we made it, so we don't overcomplicate the system, and then now we have to do all these bunch of layers of things, and then we can't do the work. And that's why we simplified it completely. We dumbed it down in order to make it function. And then later we could add the more complicatedness as we figure it out. But for now, it's like keep it simple, stupid. And so keeping it simple is like having this webcam here, and this webcam's here so that, oh, now it's like I have to just click a button, go live, boom, everybody shows up right there, and it makes it super simple. Because when it's not this simple and it's very overcomplicated, it's like, okay, that webcam is in the box. This microphone, right? We put this as well in the box, and then we go ahead and put it in the closet somewhere, and we then wait for that inspiration to happen and be like, oh, oh, I got this great idea. Okay, hold on. You go in the closet, you unravel the microphone, and then you put it up, you plug it in, you make sure it's working, right? Because you always got to do that, apparently. And then the same thing with the webcam. You go in there, you take it out of the box, then you plug it up, same thing, make sure the software is working, and then finally you're like, okay, I'm ready to record. Do you know what the recording software is? Maybe. If it's YouTube, then you have a few steps for that. If it's other softwares, you might not have to do too many complicated steps. But it's like you already overcomplicated more because now you have a lot of decisions to make before you make it to the actual recording decision. And so the faster we make it to the like, okay, I need water, boom, it's in this cup. I grab this cup, I drink water. It's like I know that. You know this is your phone and you use this to call, so you call people on the phone. And it's like, okay, you know that, right? And so the more complicated that we make it for ourselves, it then becomes something that becomes more questioning of like, okay, think about the login, because if you're practicing proper cybersecurity, and we talked about this in a previous live, if you have a different password for everything, that's a mind thought that you have to, where did I put the password? What is the password? Okay, what's the email that I put for this? What's the username? You log that in, boom, you click enter. Okay, one done. But you have to log into 5 just to make this happen. I just had to log into 2. And technically I don't log in. I just click, and then boom, it's good to go. And so again, if you make it that simple, where you're clicks away, ideally less than 10 clicks away, and there's no thinking that has to really happen. You just have to go and follow the steps, right? I know that on YouTube specifically, the way I have it set up is I go to the on my YouTube channel, I go to the dashboard, I click on the content part, then I go over, and then I go to the live portion, and then I click into that because it's always already pre-done. And so by doing that pre-work, I simplified today, right? If I had to last minute go ahead and put, this is what I was doing in the beginning, mind you. I had to, like, it would always be the last hour per se that we would structure what the live will be about, and what we're talking about and stuff. And so because of that, it's always a rush at the end. And there's so many different steps. So it became more complicated because there's a time factor, right? And there's a real timeline. So now the thumbnail has to be done. Now the title has to be done. Now I had all that has to be done, pre-work that has to be done. So that's how YouTube works. But in terms of this software that I use on this side, it's not that complicated. I don't have to do all that. All I have to do is do a few clicks, and then it's good to go. I'm ready. And so because it's made that way and it's so simplified, I'm able to do it so easily. And so, real quick, I have to make sure I download this post because,
talking about
whoops,
the
I gotta make sure I download that because the software ends it within 14 days, and that was day 13 on that specific video. So, okay, we push that out. We're good to go now. And so, by making it simplified, it it's easier. Like when you wake up the next day and you have your clothes already set for you, and it's like all you have to do is wake up and grab the clothes that you already set for yourself for today. That's very important. It's like you did some pre-work that made today simpler. And that's the same thing that you got to do across the board with everything, because if you simplify it, then you're more likely to do it. The more steps that you have to take, the less likely you will be to do it. Now, there was a time I had all these different types of software for every little thing. The question becomes, is it easier to have 50 different logins to run your business or only have five? Big difference. For me, I do have to log into YouTube specifically to do these lives, but the posting, the scheduling aspect across the board of all social medias, I don't do that on YouTube. I don't do that on Instagram. I don't do that on Facebook. I use a different software that allows me to do all the publications on there first, and then it posts out to everywhere else. And so that's where I simplified myself. I made sure that okay, this one software allows me to simplify the aspect of having to log into like five different softwares just alone. And so by having that one step, it equals out to filtering through not having to do five out of the 50, right? And so this software does a lot more than that. So it does email as well, it does websites as well, it does quizzes, courses, and basically it's like a full stack that has everything that you need to have to make your online business work, basically. And so I use that software, and that covers, shoot, probably the 50 itself right there. And then of course there's YouTube, so that's two, right? Can't get past that. Then we have um behind us, I'm live in the school community, so that's three. And then Google. And technically Google has so many different softwares within it, so it's like you could go crazy with Google because it has slide sheets and all the rest of the email and all that stuff. But those are the four that I use for business. If you want to include Stripe, there's Stripe, but I could also do it on the one that I mentioned before that does everything. If I want to get very, very, very specific about the billing specifically, I'll do it on Stripe. But that's like, again, the five, that's the five that I use, if you will. And so it's not having a complicated system doesn't allow you to go faster. It allows you to go slower because once it breaks, then it's like everything breaks, right? And so which part of the system broke if it's 50 different parts that it has to run through? That's hard to troubleshoot. That's hard to figure out. Because if you have it that way, then it's like, okay, you have to log into everything and see what everything did, right? And so logging into five is simpler than logging into 50. That's where the true the true technical aspect of things really matter. And so think about it. The leaner that I can keep the business, the better the business will be. Because the more I fatten the business, of course, the more the business has to work. And so if I keep it lean, it doesn't have to work too hard in order to make massive profits, right? And so that's the whole point, is keeping it simple enough for us to actually do it. And so if you like what I've been saying so far, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the bell notification to be notified for every next video that we're posting. And we do this live stuff every day at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time as of right now. Of course, that could change in the future, but stay tuned for the next video at 8 p.m. Central Standard tomorrow. And we do this every day so far, almost about 30 days deep. So, yay. 30 days deep into giving out a bunch of valuable information. So if you really want all the value, just go back and watch the previous videos. And plus, I have shorts and I have regular videos. All right. I I made this big mistake, right? And I was software heavy. I had a point, and there was a point where I had some employees under me as well, and so like I had to have users for them as well. So then it was even a bit more complicated, right? Of course, and so the cost keeps going up, of course. And it's like if they need access to this piece of software, well, I need to pay for them to have that access. And so it's like I had to keep up with their logins too. And then that becomes super complicated. There is, of course, different things like I want to say 1Password is what it's called, but or the Google Suite allows you to log in. But there's multiple different things that save your passwords, where it makes it easier, and then switching them is not as complicated. But at the same time, you should know your password. So you really should have three copies of things. Uh, a hardcover, right? So something with a pen and paper, right? Uh, digital, I guess multi-digital. So like this is digital, right? Say it's in my notes, right? And then the next form will be on Google Drive or something like that, a Google document. Of course, I don't recommend you doing it plain text on stuff, but use Google of some sort, right? And so using multitude, you always want to make sure that you have it three times over, because the likelihood of the three different copies being lost is kind of hard. You could lose your phone and then boom, that's gone. But you have the paper copy. So then it's like, okay, you could rely on that. And then if that's not good, then you go to the online copy, right? And so it's like make sure you're redundant with your information and how you save it, so it never gets lost. Because imagine how many people out there that have lost password to their Bitcoin wallets and can never unlock that hard drive or get that money again. And some of them, it's millions and millions of dollars, right? So that's super important. That's why we want to keep it simple, right? But we want to still also make sure that we're doing it the right way and being secure about it. And I made all of these mistakes. I've made my business overcomplicated. I was like, no, like that camera is too precious. Let's move it to the side. It's like so many different things to complicate. Hey, I can't read this book until I got that highlighter. I can't read that book until I got the highlighter and I got the post-it notes so I could take my notes. I can't read that book until I got the bookmark, the highlighter, the post-it to read the notes, the night light to read at night, and the glasses to go with it. Like it's like you could again keep layering it more and more and more until it stacks up to then a seemingly impossible task where it's like, okay, I cannot do this until I do the first 100 steps, and then I could finally read this book. It's like it's ridiculous. You would never get to the point. Again, sorry, I'm stuffy. You would never get to the point where you're able to actually make stuff happen because it's so complicated to do it. And remember that it takes a while to regain your focus. So every time that you break your focus, it takes a bit of time to snap yourself back into it and focus in again. It's possible. You can do it, but it's very complicated to keep like going from imagine there's decisions that you gotta make when you log into each different software. So you have to boom, okay. You have to think about, okay, I want to do emails. What's that? MailChimp. Okay, boom. So you go to MailChimp, or it could be constant contact, or there's so many different ones. Like it's ridiculous how many different softwares that do the same thing. Mailgun. Uh, anyways, so it's like okay, I choose my software. Okay, email. Then I have to remember what's my login, what's my username, and my password. Okay, then I gotta remember how does this function? How do I actually do stuff on the software? So that's number four. And guess what? Doing stuff could be like 10 different processes just to do stuff. And so it's like, okay, just in this simple example, there's 4 different components that you need to do in order to do email stuff. And so that's complicated. Okay, what if you have your emails already typed out, but that's on Google? And so now you have to, again, which email was it? Okay, it was this email. What was the password? Okay, which document was it that is the email that I want to actually work on or has all the emails? And so it's like these steps are definitely things that start wearing down your decision making ability. And so it's like you only have the capability to make so many decisions in a day. And so if you're making, you know, let's say you make 1,000 decisions, there's a lot of exhaustion that comes with 1,000 decisions versus 100 versus 10. Big difference. And so there is decision fatigue when it comes to making everything overcomplicated. So make sure you can complicate it, but make it simple. Complicate it simply. It's like it's so simple that I could break it down and do it on the phone. Everything that I pretty much do, I'm not sure if the live ability is able to happen on the phone. I'm sure it's probably possible these days, but it's like if that's the case, then all I need is my phone. All I need is the laptop. All I need is the PC. Don't overcomplicate it if it doesn't have to be complicated. But anyways, if you enjoy this topic and you want to learn more and get more connectivity, more connection with me and the community that is being built, click the link down in the description box below. Join the I Learned It From the Internet community, and there it'll be, community is so important. So make sure you're around the right people. Even if you don't join the community, make sure you find your right people around you, because having the right people around you to help you grow is invaluable. And you're going to love that and need that in your life, because there's 5 different realms of life that we have to master, if you will, or become students of life of. And so if you need help in those 5 realms, or you don't know what those 5 realms are, just make sure you could send me a DM on Instagram, or you could join the community below and ask me any question that you want. So until the next video, I hope you guys enjoyed it and stay tuned. Peace.